October 6th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart on the NinjaTrader 8 platform. This is what the charts look like today. There was a very, very, very strong rally that occurred pretty much for the most of the day after about I would say an hour of consolidation. The only economic data that came out was around 5:30, which is about right here. This sell-off occurred during that time, and I'm going to zoom in shortly, but it was like the average hourly wages as well as the non-farm payroll employment change and unemployment rate. So it did create a very visible knee-jerk reaction, but then the market recovered it all and then some. Pretty much it bounced from 42.43 all the way up to 43, almost 60. So that's almost 120 point rally. That is quite incredible. So I'm going to go through the trades today. I couldn't find too many setups. There, unfortunately, if you did get on any of these big runs, that would have been fantastic, but I wasn't able to. And I actually took 3 trades, 2 of them lost. And at that point, I decided I should just stop trading because the first one was kind of a bigger loss because I moved my stop loss to the low of the previous candle. And in hindsight, I don't think I should have taken that trade just because of the risk involved. So I'm going to get to that trade as well as my other 2. So this is the pre-market. I did highlight this, and I want to point out how incredibly, like, when the employment numbers came out, these big red candles, this is just in 1 minute, like 2,000 ticks candles just floated and like burned off just in 1 minute. Went from 42.94 all the way down to about 42, I'd say 42.50. So it was a good 40-point run that got burned in 1 minute. So that's quite incredible, and also very, very good cautionary tale of being very careful around news items such as that. But this is the pre-market, and I don't trade the pre-market, so whether you took it long or short, more power to you. I drew the pre-market highs and the pre-market lows, pre-market high and pre-market low. At this point in time, it's hard to know what kind of day you're going to have. It looked like it's probably going to be a trading range, and I was initially thinking it's going to stay within this larger range. But once the market opened, I changed my mind and thought maybe it's going to be in this blue range, which you'll see shortly. So I saw a new high here, saw first entry long, pull back, second entry long. Second entry long actually forms after this signal bar, this hammer signal bar. It's a good signal bar with good close above the EMA, and it comes after the break of this green up channel right here. So it looks like it was one attempt up, and then this could be the second attempt up. So I didn't want to take this trade mainly because it's these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles are just within the first minute. So this printed, and then 8 seconds later, this printed and closed, and then pretty much like 4 or 5 seconds later, this one. So this is just very rapid printing, right? So although I thought the setup was pretty nice, I just didn't feel comfortable taking it this early into the day, unless this was just, there was another key entry point or just something more to it. It's a good setup, but not good enough for the type of volatility that would happen during the market open. Then prices then continue chopping around. There are all these up channels. Try to see where prices are going. It kind of falls down through here, bounces, and at this point I see a resistance here. So although the pre-market high is here, I thought this might be creating a range right here with the top here and potentially the bottom down here where the pre-market lows was. I ended up drawing it down here much later, but it did give me a little bit of inkling when I first saw this. Nevertheless, here's another trade that I saw. I saw this new low, the first entry short, pulls back, creates a second entry short. Now, this second entry short is hidden because this candle creates both the trigger and signal bar because you went down one, then you broke up just slightly and then came back down a second time. So it looks like a hidden second entry short, and it did close below the EMA, but I didn't like this trade because it felt like I didn't like the pullback at the end of this candle because it didn't close all the way down here. It looked like it flashed down and then it was able to push back up right under the EMA. So that gave me pause. I was thinking there could potentially be a small little consolidation range, something like right here. So I wasn't 100% sure, so I had to just sit and wait it out. And then prices rallied up, And then here, I'm feeling more confident that this is some kind of resistance up here. And then down here, I kind of drew the channel here, touching down here and touching down here. So I was kind of watching carefully to see if there's any kind of reaction if prices ever got back down to there. I saw this is a failed second entry long because you have a new high here. The first entry long, pull back, second entry long. When this signal bar closed, it looked like it was EMA was kind of keeping it down, even though it's flattening out. So I was just keeping an eye on it. But ideally, this signal bar shouldn't have closed bullish like that. If it closed red, then I might have had an order ready. And then here, of course, it confirms the failed second entry long. But now I just wasn't feeling that I wanted to chase or put my entry up here. Just wanted to see how things would play out. Here, it would have worked, and I would be looking for a higher low confirmation, but it doesn't really show up till about right here. But then when this candle forms and flashes down, this is definitely too late. And plus, seeing something this wild kind of made me extra cautious. Then prices continue chopping, goes down, and kind of holds the bottom here. So I'm more confident there's a sub trading range inside this larger pre-market trading range. So that's kind of what I was working with, trading range rules as well as channel rules, because this range is quite wide. It's almost 20 points. So here I actually take my first trade. I saw a new low and also saw a new high. So first of all, you saw a new low, first entry short, second entry short, and then it looks like it's about to create a second entry short failure, but I also saw a new high here, first entry long, pull back. It looks like it's about to create a second entry long. So I entered one tick above, and I thought, okay, this is going to, it broke out of this green channel and made one attempt up, pulls back, makes a second attempt up. And at the time, even though this is second entry long, I thought it was a failed second entry short. So I had two reasons to go take a trade to go long, because I thought also, by the looks of things, it went from the bottom to the top, bounced around, had a failed breakout, came back to the bottom, came back to the top, back to the bottom. Now it's going to make one push up, two attempts, and this is the second attempt and might make it to the top. So that's the reason that I took this trade. And it looks like it flashes down, and I kept my stop really, really far away down here because I want to give it enough room. But when I kept it way down here, which is about five ticks, I got stopped out here, 5 points. I was thinking of taking about 2.5 to 3 points up here to compensate for the risk. Unfortunately, it flashed down and it gave me a loss. And then it looked like it bounced here, so it kind of faked me out, and it was a little unfortunate. I think for sure I got trapped, and in hindsight, I think I should have skipped this trade for the mere reason that this signal bar is huge. Because I followed the rules, kept my stop down here instead of up here, where a 2 point stop might have been, but it was like really much larger than I should have done. So in hindsight, it's unfortunate that I took a red on this trade, and I also should have probably looked for a higher low confirmation, which doesn't show up. So first trade, first loss, it was quite a big loss. Trade continues moving, or prices continue moving. As a fail breakout here comes up, this is where I think I see a second trade. So I see actually a new low here. There's a double bottom, new low, and then first entry short, but it creates a new low. So I counted this together. I saw a new low, first entry short, pulls up, creates a second entry short right here. But definitely I wasn't thinking short when I saw this candle. And then when it broke, I wasn't going to risk taking a trade chasing it. Here, it looks like it failed. So this second entry short has failed now. So I thought this signal bar is somewhat decent. It is a doji. And I thought, okay, I'm going to place my order just one tick above this original signal bar, which is this guy. So this is where I entered, one tick above. It flashes up. And I did have this green channel drawn at one point, but I saw it, the way I was thinking was, okay, it broke out. There's a possibility to come back down, but there's a failed breakout here as well. Also, it's in a range, so I was expecting it to come back here eventually. But I didn't consider, what I did consider, and it was just kind of conflicting ideas, was that it was bouncing off the outside of this upper green channel. So I saw it as a bounce, and I thought it might actually push back up. There's a decent signal bar. It struggled, came back up. Although the EMA didn't touch, that was the reasoning I took. But I think in hindsight, I should have considered the possibility that this overshoot is going to make one push up, probably fail, and come back to the other side. And that in itself, plus this whole setup itself wasn't super clear, but I probably should have just, left it alone. So I was able to scalp out with 1 point. I was lucky, but I was thinking, there's a bunch of conflicting ideas. When it felt like it could go long or short, it's probably an indication that I should just have skipped it. However, this one win didn't cancel out this one big loss, but I was kind of crawling my way back. So prices continue moving. Then I saw this is a new high, first entry long, pull back. It's about to create a second entry long, creates a second entry long. So this is kind of giving me a little more confidence that going long might actually work, because this previous trade, which is a failed second entry short, had worked. Plus the EMA right now seems like it's holding prices. This is a good signal bar, but this trigger bar wasn't that good. So I wanted to enter one tick above the original signal bar. And so I entered right here. On this next candle, it flashed up, and I'm thinking, okay, this is great. This might not break to this side. It might just consolidate and then continue upwards. So that was my reasoning. On top of that, it was looking like it's bouncing off the bottom support of this green channel, because I was playing with the idea of maybe this wasn't an overshoot. Maybe it's actually something slightly up here. So I was playing with that idea at the time. Let's just go ahead and put it right here for now. And you can just imagine this dotted line is where my original top of the original green channel was. I'm thinking, okay, this is good enough for a quick scalp before I hit the top. It comes up and it actually stops one tick short of my exit. It flashes down, and now I'm wondering if I'm going to get stopped out. And of course, I do. I was a little more conservative this time. I kept my stop right down here. I actually kind of was thinking if I kept it down here, maybe it'll give me enough room to breathe. But I, again, didn't want to take this huge potential risk on a smaller reward. And as you can see, if I did keep it down here, I would have lost it. So this is my third trade of the day. And in hindsight, it does kind of feel congested, and I probably should have skipped this trade. But at the time, especially after this this is the signal bar for the second entry long, but then this trigger bar, as you can see, I didn't even take it till the next bar afterwards. So this one was already probably flagging that, hey, there's a little bit of momentum being lost by the bulls. I should be extra careful. Had this one closed green, then the whole dynamic of the trade might have been different, and maybe it would have just felt more confident taking the entry. But since it closed red, and I already knew it closed red, that would have probably been something to give me pause on something that isn't super clear. So that was my second loss out of 3 trades, and I decided, you know what? I just need to sit back now. I took 2 losses today. They weren't 2 losses in a row, but this big one took a big chunk out, and I wasn't able to recover that much from this trade, and then this one added to the big chunk. So I decided, I should just stop trading and try to stay disciplined, because I'm clearly getting too eager, getting sloppy with my read. So that's what I did. I just kind of sat back and just watched the rest of the day. So then it kind of bounces off the bottom of this resistance of this range again, comes up to the top. So I'm very curious now if it's actually going to hold and pull prices back down. I saw this channel coming up, saw a break and a new high. So that gave me another reason to think prices might come down, because it broke out of this green channel, made a new high already, might come back down, test the lows here. I was aware there was an overshoot, so there could be another overshoot on this side to match this, but clearly I wasn't prepared to what was going to happen for the rest of the day. So this just starts rallying like crazy. I don't see any good entries to take a safe entry on. I mean, I wasn't going to take any more trades, but still I was just watching and trying to visualize how I would play these trades. I saw one leg up, consolidation, a second leg up. So the next point of resistance or area of interest I was thinking was going to be up here. This red channel actually doesn't exist yet. Then prices were chopping around. It didn't quite make it. I'm watching. There's no clean second entries. It's just very congested here. Chops around, keeps moving. And I do see a second entry long. I saw new high, first entry long, pull back. This creates the second entry long. But the second entry long in the signal bar is a doji. It did recently just bounce off the EMA, and there's enough room to the high. What I don't like is this second part of the measured move. It's coming right up against it. So if this is truly 2 big legs, one leg, consolidation, a second leg, then this might have played out on the upside. So if I were still trading, I would have been a little bit more cautious in taking a trade there. So I don't think it would have been worth considering taking that trade. Then prices continue moving up. It makes the measured move, chops around. It falls into clearly what I think is another trading range. But I notice now that EMA is being respected. It's acting as some kind of support. It's just chopping around. Then it breaks down below. Here, this is at this point, I draw this trend line, and I wasn't sure where the top was. So I actually created it into a trend channel because at one point I was thinking try to make it fit here, but I don't like this consistent overshoot. So then I eventually drew it and dragged it up to here. But I don't trust this bottom as a support just yet because it only has two confirmations at this point. Prices then continue moving up. I don't see any good clean entry. Technically, you have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, but this signal bar is a doji. It just feels very risky. Plus, it's far from the EMA. You're already pressing against the highs. At this point, I wasn't thinking that this could just keep going as much as it did. When prices keep going, chops, it falls into what I think is a screen channel. Then it breaks out and it goes into a sideways consolidation. So this is technically a break of the screen channel. It made a new high, but it wasn't a very strong push up to a new high. It looked like it was just chopping around. So that's making me wonder if there's going to be another gradual push up, continuing what could be within this big red channel, but I'm not sure yet. So technically you have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. This is a terrible signal bar, this red one here. Then the follow-up trigger bar isn't convincing either, even though it is bouncing off the EMA. It just doesn't feel like good enough trade. You could argue there's a triple test, one touch, two touch, three touch, but still, I just wasn't thinking that would still be a safe trade. Other people more aggressive probably would have taken it and kind of rode it up for at least 1 or 2 points. It continues chopping. I see a second entry long here, so clearly a new high. First entry long, pullback, second entry long. So this second entry long, I actually thought is a possible trade because it's a good signal bar right here. And it is above the EMA with enough room to scalp out before you hit the top of this range. So I thought, okay. Also, if you look at it closely, there's kind of a small second entry short that failed. There's new low here, one tick below, first entry short, pulls back, second push down, creates a second entry short, and then it fails. So technically, this is a second entry long and a failed second entry short. So that's probably enough reason to take the trade. So whether I would have taken the trade in reality, I'm not sure, but I did mark it as a possible trade, as something that's probably worth taking because you have enough room to scalp out. The prices continue moving, it breaks out. It looks like it's falling into another trading channel right here. But again, I don't see any clean setups. Technically, you have a new high here, first entry long, but it creates another high here, just barely. So there's still not enough. You could argue there's a new low, first entry short, second entry short, but to be honest, look at this price action. It's just very, very gradual right now. It's only exceeding by one tick above or below. So it's hard to trust what you're seeing as true, full, reliable second entries. But prices did keep going up. I mean, if you were able to get in on this trade and you had a runner and you just kind of kept it below every swing, you would still be in this thing and you would probably have easily gotten at least 20 points. So I did see a new high here. First entry long, second entry long. I didn't mark the second entry long because this is just not very convincing, even though it's bouncing off this bottom. But I did see a higher low here. But this higher low, I didn't think it was that good a trade just because you're already pressing up against the top of the highs and it's pretty far from the EMA. You could argue that the day has been very bullish. That's true, but you don't have any other key entry point other than this uptrend, which in itself is somewhat, flimsy. I mean, you could say it has some touches and some confirmations, but it just didn't feel quite safe yet because I feel like I'm at the very high. You don't know that prices are going to come down or keep going. Yeah, it turns out for sure prices kept going, but you don't know that in real time because you don't know if this has been exhausted. So then prices can continue moving up. Keeps chopping, it breaks through the red channel now. So now I'm very curious because it's still within this green channel, but broke out of this red channel. Is prices going to come back down or is it going to come back down, bounce off the outside of this red or, bounce off this green? So I don't know. So I had to kind of just wait it out. Prices continue chopping. You technically have a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but this is just congested. It starts moving down through this yellow channel. So this is very interesting now because I saw, okay, one touch, two touch, three touch. I like that. So definitely if it hit here, there might be a short setup. However, what's giving me pause is I'm shorting on this clearly very strong rally. So you would be counter trend trading. However, this rally is huge and this correction isn't that small in itself. So if there was a clean setup, maybe there would be something worth taking. So I was keeping that in mind. as long as you don't get too close to this red side, this other side of the red channel, and you do have like a first entry long, second entry long, technically a third entry long, and then you have a first entry long, technically you have a second entry long here, but this signal bar is pretty bad. I also try to look at it to visual. I saw a break of this green channel, one attempt up, pull back, second attempt up, then it failed. But I just didn't have a clear idea or clear visual of how things are playing out. At least I couldn't wrap my head around it, so I did have to just sit this out. I mean, again, I wasn't going to take any more trades, but I was always trying to visualize and pretend I was still in the trade. Then prices didn't continue. It did respect the bottom of this red channel. It bounces, at least temporarily, but I'm thinking it might still make a breakout to this side. It does. It kind of chops around, and then it looks like it re-enters the red now. And so I do see this as a new low. First entry short pulls back. You get your second entry short after this signal bar, and then the second entry short looks like it's about to fail. And here it fails and it flashes back down. So this is like a failed second entry short. It's a break of this green channel, but it made a matching high up here. So what's kind of giving you a little bit of pause, or gives me a little bit of pause, is when I saw this and it failed, it's hard to know what's dominating because you do still need to test the lows of this yellow channel, but you also want to test the highs of this red channel coming back in. But you also want to test the highs of this green channel coming back in. So, I mean, it seems like it could go either one way or the other, depending on what you did, because if you waited for here, the second entry short failed. If you jumped in early, you might have gotten trapped, and then you would have gotten stopped out. So if you went long, thinking it's going to test the highs of this, and neglect this because you think it's going to go back into the red and test the highs of this green, you would have taken the trade and it probably would have trapped you out. If you took a short, then you're believing that it's going to test the lows of this yellow one, and this green one has played out because it broke out and technically it made a matching high. But that's a lot of conflicting information coming in from both directions, which makes it very hard for me to push for one way or the other. So if you took it long, I could see why. And if you took it short, I could see why. Then it enters this ugly consolidation area. There's no clean trades to take. It just seems like dangerous flashing. I drew this purple trend line support. And at the time, I wasn't sure if it was actually a channel yet. So I actually had it lower about right here because it looked like it fit. It enters this copy range and it finally breaks out. So it breaks out on this and it chops around. I don't see a clean second entry long to try to take to continue riding up because clearly it's resuming its bullish run. But I did drag this up a little bit higher to see if I could capture this price action. It looks like it's respecting a little bit, comes back up. I like that this purple is holding prices here now. Flashes, continues chopping. It's in this trading range. You could argue there's a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, but this is a terrible signal bar. You could make the argument that this signal bar, although it's bad, it is bouncing off potentially this purple. I would have accepted that as a potential reason to take a trade, except for this overshoot down here, because this bottom line, although it fits, I just didn't like how this was looking a little squirrely right here. I wanted, if these two candles actually stayed within, I'd feel a little more comfortable. Then I would have trusted this is an actual true bounce. However, if you took it, even though it's below the EMA, it would have worked out nice. And if you're looking for a higher low, you would have gotten one right here. Then prices then continue moving up. It kind of chops within this range. I see a second entry long here, new high. First entry long, pullback. Second entry long. I like that the EMA is holding prices. The signal bar isn't the best though. It's kind of closer to the bottom and it's near the high of this possible range. So when I saw this, I was thinking, and when this one forms, like, wow, it broke above. If you were to try to put in one tick above this original guy, you're kind of pressing against this range, but you do have the purple helping. So it's a little confusing. Looks like it would have worked though. And prices continue moving up, falls into this green range. It breaks out of this purple now, but it just barely overshot. So now I'm wondering if it's going to come back and have a slight bounce, or it's going to make its way back down to the support side. You have technically a new high here, first entry long, second entry long here. You can see it as one leg, first entry long, pull back, second leg, potentially a second entry long. However, after an overshoot, I'm a little weary of taking it in the original direction until it actually touches the other side. So taking a second entry long felt a little bit iffy. First entry long, second entry long, it's a good signal bar. It's right at the EMA though. It looks like it would have filled you if you decide to go long flashed. and most likely taking you out if you kept your stop one tick below here. And if you didn't, I'm sure one of these candles might have taken you out. Keeps chopping. It looks like it's within a range now. Keeps chopping. Technically gave a new low, first entry short, second entry short. However, nothing here would tell me to get ready for a second entry short. Until you see this, then you see a clear second entry short. However, you can see it as one leg. So this could be one leg up, just one first entry short right now. Prices then continue moving down. Here, you could consider it as a second entry short on the visual, first entry short, potential second entry short setting up, then you're believing that's going to react and reject off this purple line or potentially off the top of this range. It looks like it does, and it flashes through. That would have been enough for a scalp. But then prices continue moving. I do see a lower high here. From here is a new high, first entry long, and a second entry long, failure. Or you could take it from here, first entry long on the visual, pull back, second entry long, and then a lower high, and then comes back down. But I didn't like the looks of this signal bar. It just doesn't look that convincing. It's doji. And plus, you're in the very last few 10 minutes of the day. So it just gives me more caution. And of course, then prices just kind of chop into the close. So that's kind of how I saw the charts today. I didn't see as many setups as I would hope for, seeing a huge rally like this. But if you were able to jump in on something like right here, you would have gotten a pretty nice runner if you're trading a runner. And these three trades right here, I will admit they were kind of congested, and I probably should have skipped two of them. One of them, I think, I'm not sure, but I feel like it just failed on me, and I think it would have been maybe on other setups it would have worked out, because the trade I'm talking about was actually the first trade that I took, which is the failed second entry short, second entry long, because I saw a push, one push up, and I was getting ready for the second push up. I like this signal bar. The thing that was going against it was the risk was very high. So I did, in my mind, think I wanted to take it more than my usual 1 point, probably 2.5 to 3 points, because I was risking 5. And of course, it went against me. And that was just, it's kind of a bummer on that trade. So it was an interesting day. I wouldn't say it was particularly tricky, but there was a lot of sitting around and waiting and trying to fight FOMO, because you see this big rally up and you're trying to not get drawn in to take that trade. So hopefully that was helpful.